You may start there.
Thank you. Welcome everyone to the meeting of Haywards Heath Town Council for Monday the 23rd of November 2020. Right, to start off at 7:30, to start off with, we'll have a roll call. That's okay with everyone. Christopher Ash Edwards.
Present.
Richard Bates.
Present.
Claire Cheney.
Present.
Rachel Cromie.
Present.
Sandy Ellis.
Present.
Christopher Evans.
Present.
Stephanie Inglesfield.
Present.
Matthew Jeffers.
Present.
James Knight.
Present.
Clive LeBand.
Present.
Jack Langley. No, okay. Howard Munden.
Present.
Richard Nicholson.
Present.
Mike Pulfer.
Present.
Sujan Wickramashi.
Present.
Thank you, everyone. Okay. Right, we will go into the agenda. Item 1 is the Town Council prayer. Dear God, please help and guide us in our deliberations on the matters before us this evening to make sound decisions whilst being respectful to others. Through Jesus Christ our Lord.
Amen.
Amen. Right, item 2, to note any apologies for absence.
Yes, Councillor Langley. Councillor Langley, due to work commitments.
Okay. Item 3, public forum. Here to talk. 3.1 is going to be declarations of interest. Clark?
Yeah, sincere apologies. Again, the template I've used hasn't got the declarations on. So I would ask if the Mayor asks for declarations now, and then I will add those onto the item to the agenda. And I apologise. So, Councillor McPherson, if you could ask for declarations of interest now, and then we can move on to the next item.
Okay, are there any declarations of interest for the meeting today? None? Okay, Clark?
Thank you.
Item 4, to confirm the minutes of the meeting of the council held on Monday, 21st September 2020. Do I get agreement?
Agreed.
Thank you.
Councillor,
To dispose of any business now. Sorry.
I think Councillor Knight has his hand raised.
I apologise.
I was sorry, Mr. Mayor, I was using that as voting.
Okay.
Apologies.
Right, okay, no problem. Item 5, to dispose of any business outstanding from the last meeting. I believe there are none. Item 6, to note the mayoral engagements and any announcements. Right, so since the last meeting, we were obviously honoured for the Princess Royal to visit on the 12th of October. She met with the clerk and myself, was in the building for about 45 minutes and met the members of the COVID Mutual Group who had been involved in the Leaving No One Behind strategy. We were all questioned profusely by Her Royal Highness. She knew everything inside out, back to front, and wanted to know more. It was really interesting to meet her. Very, very informal. She was in really good form. And well, the last time she apparently had been in Haywards Heath was 1989 for the opening of the hospital. So she was glad to be back, and hopefully we showed her a good time. She will, well, hopefully we will be remembered. So that was a real experience for the town council and the town hall and us. I'd like to thank the clerk for doing an outstanding job on the organisation, because these royal visits, the amount of work that needs to be done behind the scenes is absolutely extraordinary. So he was in many meetings with the Lord Lieutenant's office and Buckingham Palace Press and countless other organisations. So thank you, Clark, for organising that on all our behalves, and that was a real experience. So thank you. We've also been involved. I'd like to thank the Deputy Mayor for turning up on my behalf on the 11th of November. But I was obviously Remembrance was a different affair this year. Although on a Sunday we still had probably about 20-30 people turning up. But that was a very solemn occasion, and so I'd like to thank the clerk and the staff for putting that together. Also, Reverend Ray Smith, he left St Wilfrid's a month or so back, and I made a presentation on his penultimate Sunday service to him, and in fact it was the first time the congregation had been back, so it was quite a strange experience actually, with all the social distancing in the church, but I was accepted warmly, and we had a good chat around the presentation. Also, Silver Sunday was a real success. I'd like to thank Becky for that, organising and coordinating. I went around all the care homes in Hayward Heath with a box of goodies for Silver Sunday, and we had some very positive feedback on that front. We had a Black Lives Matters forum evening 6 weeks ago or so, and we had a good delegation from secondary schools, Warden Park, churches and businesses. There were about 12 people who turned up, and we had a good discussion. We're in the process of getting feedback and next steps. But hopefully, well, I know there is some positive things that have come out of that already, and we'll see how those develop. And I'm hoping in the new year we'll be able to get another forum going. And obviously, we're going to be discussing it in a bit, but the Hayward Heath Christmas Appeal, that around the bags for the care homes and the vulnerable and elderly. That is one of the strategies I've got for for December, and also along the lines of leaving no one behind. We've got we've got 60 volunteers who have put themselves forward so far to call the elderly and vulnerable in Hayward Heath. We're still awaiting people to step forward who would like a call from those volunteers, most of them from the COVID Mutual Group, who have done an amazing job for Hayward Heath and the villages. So we'll see how those evolve. But again, thank you to Maria and Becky for organising or helping organise that those strategies. Things that will be happening on I think it's Friday or Saturday. I think we said it's Saturday, didn't we, Clark? Worked that out quite yet, but I believe I'm needed at the Orchards for a Christmas light turn on, which will be going on either late Friday afternoon or Saturday afternoon. Watch this space. I apologise for not having my diary on me. So that's that. Also, I'd like to just very briefly say, if anybody really wants to do some bottle sorting, we have bags of bottle tops. It's great, something great to do in front of the TV. Instructions from Councillor Cheney. But anyway, I thought I'd throw that one in there. I've done a couple of bags now. If anybody wants to do it on these dark evenings, please coordinate it with Councillor Cheney. Right, and finally, I'd like to thank the clerk and also all the town council staff for the input they've had just to keep the town council running effectively. We're obviously now right in the middle of a second lockdown. The administration and coordination that needs to happen with these lockdowns, and getting everybody in the right place and everything else is quite comprehensive, and a lot of work for the clerk. So thank you for all the staff and for the clerk leading all this. So yeah, thanks very much, everyone. And hopefully at some point soon next year, we're going to we will be able to see each other face to face and have a proper conversation. Okay, but watch this space. Right, on to the next one. Are there any questions around anything that I've mentioned? No? Okay, right. Item 7, to receive and consider and adopt the resolutions of the following committees. First of all, I'd like Councillor Band as Planning Committee Chair to step forward.
Right. Thank you, Mayor. I propose that the Planning Committee or the Council adopts the minutes for Planning Committee held on the 28th of September, minutes 49 to 57, the 19th of October, minutes 58 to 66, and 9th of November, minutes 67 to 74. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to second that. Thank you.
Okay, if I may, I will take the resolutions of those meetings. So on the 28th of September, minute 56. Agreed. On the 19th of October, minute 65.
Agreed.
And then 9th of November, there were no substantive motions apart from the planning applications. Are there any questions on those 3 meetings and those resolutions?
No. Thank you. Councillor Jeffers, Chair of ENGP.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I would like to propose that we move and adopt minutes 19 to 29 from the Environment and General Purpose Committee held on the 26th of October this year.
Mayor, I'd like to second those. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
again, I will take the resolutions one by one. Minute 23, A and B. Minute 24, 25, and 20 and 26. Do I have any questions with regards to those resolutions?
Thank you, Clerk. And on to Policy and Finance, Councillor Knight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to move minutes 22 to 35 from Policy and Finance Committee on the 16th of November 2020.
Thank you. And I would like to second that. Thank you.
And again, I will go through minute 26, 20,
Agreed.
27.
Sorry, Clerk. We have a hand up from Councillor Bates.
I preempted 29.
Oh, sorry. We'll wait for them.
Okay.
That's at the end.
So minute 27, A, B, C, D and E, which should be in that order.
Agreed.
Agreed.
28,
Agreed.
Agreed.
29. Councillor Bates, do you want to speak now on 29, A, B, C and D?
Yes, it's clarification of what I said at the PNF meeting. Although I'm supporting B, C and D, I did say I was opposing the item A of raising the town hall charges by 3%, and therefore I didn't vote. And it's not really noted that that was my intention. I would do so again on this item.
Councillor Bates, if you remember that the resolutions of the meeting are presented under this item, and the minutes of the meeting which were agreed at the next meeting of the committee, that is how the decision was made. And during that minute, your objection an abstention to the matters raised under points A and B will be noted. So those minutes will be published probably this week when I finish them. And also, I will also note under this item that you've reaffirmed your objection, but you wouldn't have seen an abstention or a vote in these resolutions.
No, as long as my clarification, it's clarified what I said. Thank you.
It'll be in both sets of minutes, Councillor Bates. Minute 30?
Agreed.
31 is under point 10 of this agenda, and 32 and 33. Are there any further comments?
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Right, thank you, Clerk. Item 8, to consider a West Sussex Association of Local Councils value for money review of Sussex and Surrey Association of Local Councils. Clerk, please.
At the outset of this item, obviously, I would like to declare that I do take some very ad hoc consultancy work for the Sussex and Surrey Association of Local Councils. So if any council has any objection to what I'm saying or would like me to leave the room, I'm sure that the town mayor and the deputy mayor could minute the meeting while I disperse from the meeting. So if anybody feels at any time that they don't want to be a part of the discussion or hear your comments, I'll be more than happy to withdraw from the meeting. This report is sort of a background to a very long ongoing saga. I have sent a considerable amount of information out to you to read, including the rationale behind what the West Sussex Association of Local Councils are proposing to review against the Surrey and Sussex Association of Local Councils. I've also set out a confidential document which outlays the services offered by the SALC at the present time. I've also sent out the motions and all the background work that's been going on between the 138 clerks that are in this email trail. And quite simply, I don't want to spend hours going over this, but I'll just give a bit of background. Is any business and any service and any council should have a review of the services they provide, best value for money and what they're offering, especially as the Surrey Sussex Association and West Sussex Associations take their revenue and income from 138 town councils by the taxpayer. So I don't think anybody, any clerk or any councillor or anybody we're talking to at the moment is disputing that a value for money, a review of a service is out of order and out of line. I mean, no one's questioning that. But what has happened is that the Surrey and Sussex Association were undertaking a review of their services internally, which was parked at the outset of the COVID-19 outbreak. So that was parked. And Mr. Lego, who's the Chief Executive of SALC, was doing that work with his staff and associates to see how they offer services to the 3 counties. And we're quite unique down here because we do have the 3 counties coming together as one association going into now where Kent would go straight in, or Worcester or Lancashire. They have their own county associations. But when you pay your subs to West Sussex, that's the county that you're in, and then they pay a service charge to SALC to provide the services, the training and the information that I receive on a daily basis. What has happened is that a number of members of the board of the West Sussex have taken it upon themselves, without any consultation or rationale with their members, to undertake this review. And that, when it was announced to all of the clerks in the middle of July, August time, made us question the reason and rationale for undertaking this review. Obviously, there's lots of chit chat and background information with regards to this and personalities involved, which I won't get into now. It's nothing to do with the project. Okay, so we're at this point where a review has been undertaken. The correspondence from the Board of Directors has been dismissive of the concerns of the clerks. It has not explained itself until challenged why the review has been undertaken, who's undertaking it, why they've employed a member of staff, and who the professor is who's undertaking those reviews. So if we park the outcomes of the review, which will come out in January, we now have an AGM pending on the 2nd of December where there's a lot of disgruntled clerks and councils across the county questioning the actions of the board. But this report isn't really questioning the review, it isn't questioning the outcomes, it's not asking for us to make a decision on whether we want to go with the result by ourselves or whether we want to stay with this association, the local councils. This is around the process that's been undertaken to undertake this review. And I would say that the majority of town and parish councils across West Sussex are not that happy about what's happened. So that really is the backdrop. There's a lot of paperwork that I've essentially said, but what we're really looking at now is the AGM that's coming up on the 2nd of December. Councillor Jeffers, by virtue of appointment by full council at the full council meeting, is the member representative on the Mid Sussex Association, so it goes even lower. So the Mid Sussex Association, which is our district branch, and he therefore gets a vote on that branch and a vote on the WASAC annual meeting, which is the annual meeting that's happening on the 2nd of December. After some digging around this investigation, it's come to light that each town council, and it was new to most town councils, have 2 votes at the AGM. So the second resolution on this is to vote Councillor Pulford in as a second vote at that meeting. And the reason that I am asking you to do this, because there are resolutions put forward by Aldingbourne Parish Council, which is just down by Fontwell, just down the road from me, with regards to 4 motions which were laid out under point 13 of the report. And you will see that that is about ceasing the review, and it goes as far as asking the board of the chairman and the vice chairman of the board to stand down. As part of this whole ongoing process, which made the town clerks and parish clerks even more a sense, was a questionnaire that was circulated by the new employed officer, stating that we had to fill in a questionnaire which is running to 50 questions. And they're asking for information which should be held by the council, as a matter of fact. How many councillors go to meetings, how many councillors go to training courses, how many times do the clerk access information with regards to their standing orders and their processes. So that questionnaire has come through, and they've asked for a minute of the meeting, and they've been told, quite frankly, by all the town and parish clerks that please don't tell us how to do our jobs. We will review these questionnaires and we will respond in due course. So for good order, as I was talking to you, I've asked for delegated authority to complete that questionnaire, and you are all welcome at any point to look at that questionnaire and see the answers that I've made. The questionnaire, to my mind, is very loaded, it's very leading, it's asking the questions it wants to ask, and it doesn't actually even ask if the town and parish councils are satisfied with the service they receive from SELC, Sussex Local Councils. So they're not even asking that question. They're trying to sort of base it on non-use and non-users of that kind of work. But that questionnaire that is available for you all to see. I would also, from personal experience, let you know that I wrote to the West Sussex Association of Councils, to the board, and asked them 3 questions. They did not respond to my question for 60 days. Feltham Parish Council, who's just down the road from me again, made a Freedom of Information report to the IOC because they broke the Freedom of Information timescales and were told by IOC that they didn't adhere to that because the board didn't fall into their category. I still haven't had a formal response to my report, and an open letter was sent to the clerk of Feltham, and I asked if that response was to cover paper teeth answers, because there were 15 other councils as well as us who'd asked questions. And the only response I got was 3 words, was yes it was. And the clerk of Feltham got it is. So 2 larger parish councils, town councils in the county were asking questions of their board members, and the way they acted in their responses, even though they resolved in their board meeting to respond to all 16 parish councils who made their representations, quite frankly, is dismissive and rude of them. And I have written that for myself to them, so I'm not talking out of turn. So really what I'm asking for was all that backdrop, and I'll get off my soapbox, and I will give you all the information that's imparted, that you resolve those 4 recommendations to assist us in holding the board to account and making sure that the Hayward Town Council's view, if you agree with what I've sent through, of course, because you are the councillors, I'm only telling you what I've been doing and how I've been handling the situation with my fellow clerks, are happy with the resolutions A and B for, well, A is already covered because Councillor Jeffers is our rep, that Councillor Pulford holds a second vote, that we vote for the 4 substantive motions that are produced in the report, and that I have authorisation to fill in the questionnaire. Town Mayor.
Thank you very much, Clark. Does anyone have any comments? If not, I'll move on to the recommendations.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Ash Edwards.
Councillor Ash Edwards.
I was just going to say that I fully support what's been suggested by the clerk, because apart from anything else, I think this shows very poor governance on the part of the West Sussex Association of Local Councils. So I fully support the proposed actions of the clerk. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody got anything else to add to that? No? Okay. Right. I'll read out the recommendations. Okay. And hopefully we'll get agreement on all of them. A, to note that Councillor Jeffers holds a vote for the Town Council at the West Sussex Association of Local Councils annual general meeting on Wednesday the 2nd of December 2020 as appointed by the annual full council. B, to authorise Councillor Pulfer to use the Town Council's second vote at the West Sussex Association of Local Councils annual general meeting on Wednesday the 22nd of December 2020. C, to resolve Town Council using the votes under A and B to support the special resolution motions A to D as laid out in point 13 of this report that will be heard at the West Sussex Association of Local Councils annual general meeting on Wednesday 2nd of December 2020. And finally, note the questionnaire that's been circulated by West Sussex Association of Local Councils in relation to the value of money project and give delegated authorities to the town clerk to complete the questionnaire on behalf of the town council. Do we have agreement for all four of those points? Agreed? Everyone? Unanimous?
Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Could I just ask a question? Could I ask the clerk to let us all know the outcome of that meeting?
Oh yes, well definitely yes. 100%. Yeah, of course, yes.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much. Item 9, to consider and make representation on the National Association of Local Council on Standards Public Sector Survey. Clark.
Yeah, I circulated this consultation, I think, last Tuesday. I haven't had any responses, so unless anybody's got any burning... Oh, I have one response, sorry. One response from Councillor Band. He put his hand up, sorry, I apologise. I've had one response from Councillor Band, but in the case of no further comments, I would resolve that we would recommend that we don't make a representation.
Does everyone agree to that?
Mayor?
Yep. Councillor Laband.
Thank you, Mayor. Clark, you've mentioned that I made or basically responded to your request. Is my response not an item for discussion and submission?
Yeah.
Well, we could read that response out, Councillor Band, but say it was the only response that I made, so I wasn't going to publish it as a council position. If you want to move it as a representation, you're more welcome to.
If I, well, basically, I'm not going to get this word perfect, but my position as a councillor is that if a member of the public, an officer, or another councillor asks me a question and I cannot answer them truthfully, and I feel uncomfortable, then something is wrong in terms of my ethics. And I think that's a good standard, a standard I aspire to deliver in my public life.
Okay. Anybody got any comments? No? Okay, Clark.
I'm more than happy to put some words together along that line. If all the members that are present are happy to follow Councillor Band's line there, I'll be more happy to put that together as a response if they're happy. And
Okay.
Come back.
Is that unanimous?
so Councillor Band wants to come back.
Yeah, I would say just because the rules regarding ethics are often kind of blurred and unclear, and I can't think of anything clearer than that. That's why I came to that conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that everything?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure if
Councillor
Nicholson was voting or wanted to speak, and likewise the Councillor Munden.
Okay, Councillor Nicholson. did you have anything to say?
No, I was supporting.
All right,
Okay.
thank you. I was just checking.
Yeah.
Councillor Munden, were you the same?
Thank you. I was the same. I was vigorously
so-
demonstrating my support.
Councillor Ash Edwards would like to speak again.
Okay, Councillor Ash Edwards.
Thank you. I would just say I'm not sure that's a really very good response to the particular questions that have been asked, because I don't. This is to govern all councils, all councillors, and we can't. That will not necessarily apply to everyone. While I agree that we should all aspire to what Councillor Laban has suggested, that is not actually the question that are being asked, and I suspect that response will merely be ignored. Thank you.
Would you like to come back with something, Councillor Band, or?
No, and other than to remark that yeah, I appreciate what Councillor Ash Edwards has said, and I suspect and fear that may well be the case, and I'm saddened all the more for it. Other than that, I will be guided by that principle, I'd like to think that most other councillors that I deal with would be of the same mind. Thank you.
Okay, so Clark, what do you suggest we do? We just leave it, or?
I suggest if Councillor Ban wishes to put it forward as a personal opinion, which I can help him with, may be the way forward, unless the council want to go with it. This is a council representation, so Councillor Ban could make an independent representation if he wished to. But what I was asking was a collective response from all of the council, but obviously that hasn't been forthcoming. So the only response I had is Councillor Ban, so that's the only thing we have on the table at the moment. So is Councillor Ban wishing to move that as the council's resolution and response, or is he happy that we take that offline and make it into a personal response? You see, I'm looking for a collaborative response against an individual response. But then if the full council wants to take that individual response as a collaborative response, they can do, but that's up to you members to decide. So Councillor Ban wants to come back?
Thank you, Clark. Thank you. Yes, I do. I'll leave it on the table as a substantive motion, and members can either support it or not.
I'll need a seconder.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay. I think, who wants to support that? Can you just repeat it?
Councillor Nicholson has. Mr. Mayor.
In essence, if a member of the public, an officer, or another councillor asks me a direct question and I cannot answer that question truthfully, then from an ethical standpoint, something is wrong. Sorry, if I cannot answer that question truthfully without feeling uncomfortable, as a councillor or personally, then something is wrong from an ethics point of view.
Okay.
Thank you.
Who supports that?
Are members supportive of that, or do we need to take a vote? Is there any objections to that being put forward? Are all members in support of that happening?
I would like to abstain because while I understand the principles of what Councillor Band has said, I don't think that answers the questions we're being asked.
Okay. So, Councillor McPherson, can we have a vote, please?
Sorry, we've got Councillor Bates and Councillor Evans wishing to ask a question.
Yeah, mine is a similar view to Councillor Ash Edwards. And therefore I'd abstain as well.
Okay, so we've got 2 abstentions. Christopher, Councillor Evans, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I just think I understand and the point that Councillor Laban's making, and I think it's quite a good opinion, but I just feel a little bit, finally to use the word, uncomfortable myself at the moment by having a vote on something without more thought or more time on what's been put across. I'm not saying I'll go with it or wouldn't go with it, but I just feel uncomfortable myself personally to have a decision right now on something which has been put forward. I'd just like that to go on the record. So,
So do you want to abstain, or do you just don't want to?
yeah, I think that would be the best thing. I think no opinion really at this moment.
Okay,
So abstain, yes.
Who would support the that motion?
I think you need to read. I think we need to take it member by member on this one. I think I need to remind you all. You can all make independent representations if you want to. Shall I take? I think I'll go through one by councillor, and ask them to. We'll do a recorded vote because it's very difficult to see in this meeting. Just bear with me a second.
Mr. Mayor, I've got my hand up.
Councillor Pulfer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just wondering that it's quite clear that a number of councillors have not read this paper. Might I suggest that it's deferred to the next full council meeting, by when all councillors will have read it and will have made a response back to the clerk, so that we can try and do a collective response. Because it's excellent that Councillor Ban should have made a response. But the response to most councillors is sudden and unexpected, and now we're being asked to vote on something which some councillors are feeling uncomfortable. So I would suggest that perhaps we defer it unless there is an urgent reason for us to conclude the business tonight. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
If you leave it to January, you'll miss the deadline for a response.
Can I come in there, if I may, Mayor?
Yes, absolutely.
You know, I appreciate what Councillor Pulfer has suggested, but all councillors have an equal opportunity to actually prepare for this meeting. And I'm somewhat, well, let's not kind of get into my personal feelings of people who haven't actually kind of prepared adequately and read that paper. The clerk went to a great deal of effort, and it was up to each of us to read those notes and prepare for this meeting and respond accordingly. So deferral really isn't acceptable.
Okay, so
you have an item. You have a mover of a wording under the item, and you have a seconder. You can't take it to the next full council meeting because that would miss the deadline. So I would suggest that you progress to a vote to see whether Councillor Laban's motion or wording is carried.
okay, fine. Let's do that. You're going to do you're going to note the vote.
Councillor Ash Edwards.
Abstain.
Councillor Bates.
Abstain.
Councillor Cheney.
Support.
Councillor Cromie.
Or support.
Councillor Ellis.
I have read the paper and I support.
Councillor Evans.
Also read the paper and I abstain.
Councillor Mundine.
Support.
Councillor Ingersfield.
Support.
Councillor Jeffers.
Support.
Councillor Knight.
Support.
Councillor Band.
Support.
Councillor McPherson.
Support.
Councillor Nicholson.
Support.
Councillor Pulfer.
Support.
And Councillor Kamarachi.
Support.
So on that basis, we'll take that forward. But as I said before, you are all welcome as members to make your own representations, and you can do that directly yourselves through the appropriate process and the consultation, which I'm happy, and it's obviously to share the link with you.
Thank you, Clark. Okay, moving on to item 10.
Could I just interrupt briefly? Please, could those who have blue hands up still from the previous comment put them down so I know who's putting them up in a moment? Thank you. Sorry,
No problem. Item 10, to consider a report that seeks ratification of the Mayor's Christmas appeal as recommended by the Policy and Finance Committee. This is basically to rubber stamp some funding that's needed for the appeal that will be happening over the next 5 weeks, 6 weeks. Any comments? Can we go straight into the recommendations? Yeah.
If no one else wants to say anything, I just would like to support. I think this is a great initiative and so on and so forth, and has my full support.
Thank you. Councillor Ash Edwards, did you want to say something? No? Okay, fine. Thanks very much. Right. Members are recommended to ratify the recommendations of the Policy and Finance Committee dated 16th of November 2020 and A, support the Town Mayor's Christmas appeal, B, allocate a maximum of £1,500 from unrestricted reserves to meet the overarching project costs as laid out in the financial implications of this report. Does everyone agree?
Agree.
Thank you. Right. We have 3 items under any urgent business items that I've received. The first one, it's a statement that I want to make. In line with Hayward Heath Town Council adopted policy in the Hayward Heath Neighbourhood Plan and Destination Hayward Heath, a letter is being written to MSDC stating that it would wish that any successor to Clare Hall be built on the existing site, providing a modern, multi-purpose, flexible facility. Furthermore, MSDC should be left to come up with a design in consultation with Hayward Heath Town Council to ensure that residents' needs and requirements were catered for by providing a viable multifunctional space. The letter's detail will be worked out at the planning working group on the 7th of December. Okay. Right, the second urgent item is going to be for the clerk, second and third.
Yes, two items for myself. The first one is on Saturday morning, I received the external auditors' reports from Moore Stephens, which have been delayed because of the COVID-19 pandemic. You understand that the end of year was taken back to July from the end of June, and Moore Stephens have come forward with our report, which we would normally consider the findings of at this meeting and publish. I'm pleased to say the audit report's come back clean with no comments. And we will get a formal noting of that feedback at the PNF meeting in January. Obviously, the audit will be published on the Town Council's website with the rights of representation, all the paperwork, so that our internal auditor, when he comes on the 14th of December, knows that we are in good order. So that's a bit of good news. I'll defer to Councillor Pulfer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to say that I think it's a very good effort, because I think it was a new auditor this year round. So all in all, good news that that the new auditor has found all to be in order. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And your third urgent item, Clark?
Yes, just so members are aware, this is not a matter that would need to be discussed, but I'm in negotiations and talking to the NHS about whether the town hall could become a mass vaccination point. The NHS are looking for facilities that can hold such over the next 6 to 9 months. And I have a meeting with NHS representatives on Thursday. I don't know what their requirements are yet. I know that they want to vaccinate 6 people every 20 minutes and about 1,000 people per week. And there will be a look at the building to whether we can accommodate them. They don't want a massive space. They need a kitchen area, which we can provide. So I'm just letting you know that, that I will be having that meeting. And also the fact is that we'll have to make sure that we can manage our existing bookings and clientele at the same time as well. So just for your information that that meeting is going on and it's an operational matter for me to discuss.
Thank you, Clark. Right, item 12 to consider exclusion of public and press. There isn't any, there are none. So the time is 8:15, 2015, and I will now close the meeting. Thank you very much for attending, everyone.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.